Good evening. Welcome to Word Alive. Here we are. It's actually a little late on a Tuesday night, but just came across something earlier today in the scriptures, and it just came back to me and just felt like I really needed to come on and share this because, you know, one of my favorite topics to look at and to consider and to share with people about is this issue of suffering, why we have to suffer. And I saw something new in this story of Job. After, my about 1,000th time reading it, I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes, but I saw something new in this story. And I want to give you a little background for those of you who aren't familiar with Job. If we look at Job chapter 1, it gives us a little background on Job. It says, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. Now he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He had about 500 yoke of oxen, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 female donkeys, a large household. He had servants, he had land, he had it all going on. And so Satan comes to God one day and he says, you know what? The only reason that Job worships you is because, you've given him so much. And God says, well, you know what? Take it all away. So he loses all his camels, his oxen, his donkeys. Houses are destroyed. Servants are taken away. He still doesn't turn his back on God. So now Satan takes his children, his 10 children. Think about that and the torment that would be. And yet Job still doesn't turn his back on God. And so Satan goes back to God, and God says, okay, you know what? You can touch his body, but you can't kill him. And so now Job's got boils all on top of all this loss. He's got boils all over his body. He's taking sharp stuff and just scraping his skin just to try and get some relief. And then his encouraging wife comes along and said, look, just curse God and die. Why put yourself all through this? Just curse God, die, and be done with it. He still won't curse God. He still won't turn his back on God. And then his 3 friends come along, as friends tend to do. And they were men. That's the thing. Was they didn't give him their presence. They gave him their perspective. Instead of sitting with him and mourning with him, being sorrowful with him, no, they tell him what he did wrong, why he deserved this, why he earned this, and they put him in a position where now you'd be there, right? Somebody's telling you what you did wrong. Your back gets up and all of a sudden you got to start defending yourself. You got to start justifying, say, no, I didn't do anything wrong. And the more they tell you did wrong, the more you're going to push back and the more you're going to fight what they're telling you, right? So this is the position that they put him in. And I love it because eventually I can just imagine God sitting up there listening like, listen to these knuckleheads down here. And finally God speaks up. He says, look, just curious, Job, where were you at when I laid out the foundations of the earth? I'm not sure about this, but were you the ones that decided how far the seas can go and when they've got to retreat? And how about Leviathan? How about this monster? Can you catch him on a hook and reel him in? And how about all these wonderful animals that were created? Were you the one that created them? And after Job listens to God for this for a little while, and I'm sure just he felt about 8 feet tall, and then about 6, and then about 5, and by the time God's done, he's probably down to feeling about 2 inches tall. And that's where I saw something in this that really struck me today. And we're going to go to Job chapter 42. And for beginning of verse 2, it says, Job answers him and says, I know that you can do everything, and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. You asked, who is this who hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. So he's acknowledging, you know what? You got me, right? I'm talking about stuff I have no idea. I can't grasp the depth of your knowledge. I can't grasp the wonderful things that you've done. So I spoke out of turn, my bad. And he says, listen please and let me speak. You said, I will question you, you shall answer me. And then verse 5 is where I saw this bing light bulb goes off over the head. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. So you know what that hit me in that? So for all the blessings that he had, for all the children that he had, for all the oxen and camel and land and money, and for being among the greatest of the people in the East. You know what? He had only heard of God. He knew about him, but he didn't really know him. But in his suffering, in his torment, in his crying out, he reached out to God in a way that he never had before. And now he didn't just hear about God, he sees God. Before I heard about you by my ear, but now I see you. Now I don't just know about you, now I know you, because I have gotten so desperate I had to call out on you. And I think that's one of the reasons why we go through the things we go through, because we need it. Let's face it, by our nature, when things are going too well, we hear all about God. We may even see God in it, but we don't really see God until we have to go through something. We get desperate, and as my wife preached in the 7 last words, we cry out, and that's when we see Him. So God bless you. If you're going through anything these days, turn to God, see God, and get your relief. God bless you. You have a blessed day, and never forget, Jesus loves you, and so do we.